All right. Well, while she's serving up for our next round, yeah. So this shirt was, actually printed from a watercolor one of the guys down there did when he heard that Uncle Robert had this, he had befriended this guy, Mike Solis, who moved there and is convinced that it'd be the place, one of the main places possible for first contact with, our star visitors, space cousins, I call them, right? And so I did the Wednesday market, and one Wednesday night, Gary, who was Uncle Robert's right-hand man for all things with the Hawaiian Kingdom, came over to me back in my truck and, smoking a joint, drinking some coffee, and he says, "Oh, hey, Dave, Uncle was out on the lava a couple of nights ago driving around, and he says he thinks he found a landing zone out there." I'm like, "Oh, really?" He goes, "Yeah, you should go see what you think." I'm like, "Well, I will." So the legendary Kava Dog and I walked out there, and I came back, and I was like, Gary, I found 3 landing zones out there, but I think I know the one Uncle's talking about. And this was 2 weeks before the proclamation, the big ceremony. And so I went out there Tuesday night and put coconut torches all the way around this big indentation, lit them up. And then Tuesday, there's nobody out, a couple of drunk guys up here, and maybe 1 or 2 tourists. And I'm standing out there in the middle of it, and it's like, wow, been down to Kalapana, it's a pretty special place. So the following week, they had their big ceremony, and it was and it's still there. It's a much smaller circle that they made. But during that ceremony, and Uncle had insisted that it's part of the proclamation that the land was going to be designated a star visitor sanctuary in the recognition of the belief that some Hawaiians have that the original Hawaiians came here by sky canoe, and and that they were basically, when the human, Ohana part came, they got along for a while till these cataclysmic, earth changes came, and the humans been, less advanced as we are. We started to blame the little people with the big power, the Manahuna, who became, now, twisted around to the Menehune. And so Uncle Robert was basically saying, hey, we're claiming the property. And that's what most of the representatives there were into, I could tell. And during this ceremony, when the Prime Minister read this, part about it being a star visitor sanctuary, and it was because Uncle insisted that aloha was for everybody. You couldn't pick and choose. It was for the Pahoa hippies. It was for the Hawaiians and for everybody that came, including the star visitors, as he called them. And he, in the proclamation said, "You're welcome here. It's a sanctuary. We won't hurt you." Kind of like, forget about what happened before. We're sorry. We know you got big power. If you can come here, you're safe. And if you can help the Hawaiian Kingdom, we will accept that help. And so the aloha is for everybody, right? But that's not flying the colors of here, So that's it.
Yeah, you.
Yes.
So flying the colors, But yeah, if you were seen wearing this T-shirt somewhere, who knows where, somebody's going to recognize it. Oh, you were there. You're a star visitor. You're a star visitor guy. And it's, oh yeah. Well, I'm convinced that the star visitors are also the ones, the beings, the cousins who loved us so much that they brought us the Awa in our previous ancestral selves at least 5,000 years ago, maybe longer. But they came down just like that's how the Menehune came here in the first place. Is they were rescued from a planet up in the Pleiades area that was being ravaged by war, and they were about to die, and some of their space cousins came down and said, yo, get on board. This place is fucked. You won't be able to survive here because of those Fakas with their nuclear bombs. Get on board, bring your most important shit, don't worry, we're taking you somewhere. And they brought them to Earth, and they stuck them on the continent of Mu, or Lemuria, in a small continent in the middle of, what's now the Pacific. And they put them there because there weren't any large animals that would eat them, or people that might eat them. And so I'm convinced they had their Ava. And the Ava is more than a plant. Humans, you gotta remember, are like the kindergartners in the cosmic schoolhouse. We're cute. We think we know what we're talking about. We get degrees. I got a degree in chemistry, I've worked in all sorts. I don't know shit, according to the space cousins. But they love us. And Kava is one of those space cousin beings. So I'm convinced it came, people come up and they're humans, they're normies, right? But they're your guests, and aloha is for everybody, and this could be the most memorable moment of their life. It probably will be. You all look like rock stars to me. You're my rock stars! That's how Zach used to say it with those high pitches. But this, okay, so I'm flying the colors right now of Bayfront Kava Bar, which was my place. I went underground 2 years ago when the damn pandemic hit. Yes, I'm still a pure blood. You need plasma. Can, right? But I have a very rare blood type, It's got that Sasquatch and Anunnaki in there, but it is compatible. So yeah, this is a vintage shirt.
Yeah,
you can't quite read it all, but it's Mudweiser. Mudweiser. Not Budweiser, Mudweiser. It tastes like the Ina, but it makes you wiser.
Yeah.
And so somebody sees this, then they know. And the logo thingy here, you can tell it's an Ali'i guy because he's got, his little thingy, cool thing on his head. And he's kind of stocky, and he's obviously holding one Apu. And what else came here with our space cousins? The ganja. It's holding a big fatty, it's lit up. And that was actually, I saw Sam, one of Uncle Robert's sons, who's my closest friend out of the tribe down there. And Sam was standing there, and he only likes the coconut water, Ali'i style. He was standing there on a Wednesday night with the shell and this big fat dude, and it just lit me in front, and I looked at him and it was like, oh my God. Took a coconut and scratched it in, and so he doesn't know that, but that's Sam, one of Uncle Rob. But we aren't here for Bayfront Cup. When I'm working here, in the hat, that's from when we went underground. Some guys opened up a kava speakeasy briefly in Nana Valley, deep in. And they came up with this like Chairman Mao kind of another collector's item. That's better. Flying the Kanaka color.
Yeah.
Right?
Yay.
Kanaka kava is over 20 years continuously going. I opened up 14 years ago, but the last 2 years been underground. But Kanaka represents the Space Cousins' finest. This Hawaiian kava. Kava isn't just Hawaii. It's all over Polynesia. Hawaii was the last stop coming in the canoes. I've got some plants in the back of my truck right now that are doing a journey. They just came over the saddle. You know, they like to cruise, they like to travel. A kava plant, like what we just drank, it's still alive because I took a lot of cuttings and they're starting to sprout. You know, so take a cutting from a plant, it has not lost its consciousness. It remembers, right? When we die and get reborn, then you know we forget about our previous lives. Not the kava. It's been continuous, even the littlest plant you see has been continuously alive and cared for by people, probably all of us in previous lives, for at least 5,000 years, maybe, I believe, much longer. So to be working with it in any capacity really is a calling. It's not a job. Now, there's people that in other places that they see it like a job. It's a privilege. You get to serve this living, you know, intelligent, you know, star being. You know, he's not a star visitor. We see it in our human eyes. We say, oh, there's a plant there. No. It's like that's the physical manifestation in this plane to get us to, you know, drink the plasma.
Well said.
And then you become superheroes. You know, so you want to share this experience because kavas are a lot of different places, but the best kava, here, specifically, right here. People that have had kava anywhere else, you just assume, except Bayfront, right? Anywhere else, there, you know, any place off this island, and many places on this island, you just assume that they didn't have the best experience. You know, I mean, it's better, any kava is better than no kava, unless it's some adulterated crap, you know, sawdust with some expired Russian Xanax stirred in, and, you know, I mean, there's people serving this kind of shit, you know. But we can attest here to knowing these plants and these roots very intimately. You know, they're still alive. I do. Right now, I'm more involved in the farming, the front end, the propagation, and getting them up to pots, and then, you know, we've got a farmer guy who's taking it from there with guidance. But, you know, harvest, chop, wash, I mean, it's a lot of hard work. It's a calling. And when Zach was on his deathbed, and he had been off island getting cancer treatment, and he came back, and I've seen him go through a lot of ups and downs and so forth, and he was at the hospice in Gila, and I went in to see him, and Lake and Kaoi were in there, and I didn't really know them that well. I mean, I knew who they were, but I didn't realize when I just came walking in that Zach had pretty much chased everyone out because he wanted to talk to them, but I came walking in and just sort of butted in. But after they split, and he said, he goes, Dave, come here. And I almost couldn't recognize him because he had lost so much weight. So he looked like a white guy. I mean, seriously, he looked like, you know, he'd gone from this big jovial Hawaiian guy, you know, and I saw, you know, and I mean, he had some white physical blood in him too, you know, but spirit, he was full on Hawaiian. He was very entertaining, and you couldn't spell crazy without the big Z, you know. But he said, Dave, grab my hand, you know, you know, do like Indian handshake there, and he goes, you're strong. And I knew he wanted to get back up to the farm, and that's where he wanted to go. And with the Awa, you know, when you hit a certain level, and this is like years past the first time you get the flying feeling, because that was 2 years into hard run at it every day. I hit the flying feeling. So he and I had a connection, and plus we, you know, tripped balls on mushrooms together many times and stuff too. But it was like, I was telling him, take what you need, you know, like pull some life force. You know, we have that ability. We're you know, we're integrated with this, you know, cosmic being that's at least 5,000 years on Earth. At least. You think about a sequoia out in the forest, magnificent tree, 2,000 years old. But you know what? He hasn't traveled around. He hasn't jumped in canoes with me. He knows all about that little spot there, you know. When Sasquatch came up, you know, lands and stuff. But the Awa being, so I was saying, take what you need, you know. And he looked at me, and then he goes, and you became a kava man. And, you know, and I said, you know, it's not an easy thing, because there's plenty of stuff I could do just to earn a living. But what I said, you know, I said, that's right. And I said, you know, it's not easy. He goes, it's a calling. Yeah, you do this high voice, and it's a calling. And it is, you know, when you really, you know, and you can see the difference if you're, you know, a kava enthusiast and you go, you know, because you're traveling, you see there's a kava bar, you gotta go in. You hunt them down,
Yeah.
you go in. And a lot of them are more kratom bars, and they aren't gonna have this.
Yeah.
Not likely, unless they happen to know Super Uncle Awa Dave, and they got a shipment of frozen bricks for their personal stash, and and every now and then they'll do that, or they'll bust it out for a Fresh Friday. But there's people, they travel from all over the world. You know, you're here representing the Awa Aloha. Awa Aloha. Exactly, sit here. Running a business is not easy. You know, I don't know how many of you have done it, if you have or not. There is no shame ever in choosing the option of, you know, that looks like a lot of work. I don't mind working for someone else that takes on all those headaches of running an establishment. I'll join the team in this role. I'll be the provider of service, which for survival, you know, of course means sales. But it's more than that when you're dealing with this. It's not just like, you know, I've been selling stuff since, you know, first grade. Started selling joints on the street and stuff. And it's like, no. You read the individuals that come in, right? You see them, you know, it's like they come into this zone. It's like your aloha zone. And Zach extended it out, right? Because he had the third eye blast. He'd be sitting there with the bowl, right? And just looking around and talking, you know, I might be sitting there and somebody, one of the other regulars would be talking. And if he saw, you know, it's like you see somebody and it's like, pull them in, right? It's like, hey, what's, you know, going on? You know, and kind of stumble in like, you know, their inner being is telling them, go there, drink that, that's what you need, you know. No matter where it is off this island, just consider it, they came here from hell. It might as well be, you know, pretty much. There might be a couple of places, but pretty much. This is the best place, got the best coffee, got the most aloha, and I am certain that ganja was delivered along with some other goodies by those space cousins who really loved us. And we got to carry that on, because some of them that are coming in, they're like you know, the Pleiadian space fixings and stuff. They look human. They can cloak themselves and stuff, and it really happens a lot down, you know, on the other side. You could mistake them for hippies, except there's just something else. And you know that they came through the portal
My people.
because the best cob is here in the galaxy.
Yeah.
In the galaxy, they brought it here.
Wow, guys.
Yeah. So,
Come on.
all right. To the best Ava in the galaxy. Yeah, that one looks a little dry.
Dude did the talking.
Let's see. Okay, so
Let me use the bathroom real quick.